And when I'm starting to see the gender ideology that's being taught right now, my thoughts are, and a lot of parents' thoughts are, we're denying basic biology and science at this point.
Kids have no ability to make decisions about it. I mean, my goodness, even teenagers don't have the capacity to really make those kinds of decisions. And yet we want to indoctrinate grade 1 kids about things like masturbation and stuff like that. It's sickening, to be honest with you.
Hi guys, what's up? I'm Tabitha Peters for Rebel News. Last week, I visited School Pods Canada in Thorold, Ontario. What are school pods? That is the main question. School Pods Canada was founded by husband and wife Daryl and Milena Weinberg. They explained new ways of teaching as alternative schooling outside of the government-funded system. The Weinbergs also explained how parents have expressed growing concerns about the schooling system teaching gender ideology, which they say is one of the issues now in public and even private schools. Check it out.
School pods are groups of children who are being homeschooled. Children are not enrolled in any school. They are being educated by their parents, and their parents have made a choice whether they're going to educate their own children or share teaching responsibility of a group of children, or they hire a teacher to help them with the homeschooling process. But pods could also be, and this is what happened when schools were locked down and there was online education. You can also hire a teacher to help your child with online schooling. So there's just so much variation of what school pods or learning pods are. Some people just get the children together for the social aspect, because when school is not running, where there's no programs going on, the children need to get together. That's a basic human need, really, for them to be with other children and interact.
Well, the big thing that we want to cultivate is the customizable aspect of it. We want to meet kids where they're at. Society is based on the foundation of the family. And families were designed to be in community with each other. That's how every successful society is built. You take apart the communities, you take apart the family, you take apart society, and that's what we're seeing right now is a deconstruction. I mean, the whole social distancing thing, first of all. They've now come out and said that there was no scientific basis for keeping people 6 feet apart. But what it does is that it's actually scientifically proven that people can resonate with their heartbeats. Okay, so the frequencies with their hearts will actually connect within 6 feet. You pull people farther apart than that. So again, what you're doing is you're isolating people. And what we have seen over the past 3 years is a very intensive isolation of everybody, and it's causing massive problems that a lot of the media isn't talking about. We want to build communities. And so what we want to do is it's a combination of a systematized approach to schooling, but at the same time, it's customizable enough so that if we have a bunch of kids who get together and they're all musically inclined, well, we're going to emphasize that because that's what their parents are going to want. Maybe we have a couple of classical pianists who are in there. But if it's math and science, let's say, or something like that. So what we have to do is, instead of a one-size-fits-all approach, what we're going to do is we're going to evaluate who we have in the pod, what the needs are, and then we're going to mold the curriculum and the way that the pod is run in order to meet that need.
To be honest, I thought public schools were the only way to educate children. I also had no idea about the world out there of homeschooling or other alternatives, really. And so once I started teaching in a public school, I thought things were going well, and it was wonderful. I started seeing, though, a lot of things like teachers not being hired because of their qualifications, but because of maybe someone they know in the school. Or so me coming I was born in a communist country in Eastern Europe, and coming from that system and coming to Canada hoping that everybody would have equal opportunity, I found that the system is not fair like it was presented to be to the teachers and to the children as well. Children were being labeled all the time. Meanwhile, they just needed that, what I just explained, the basic needs being met before they could be taught the subjects at school. And sometimes we diagnose children before even taking the time to finding out what they need and what could make this better without either medication or some kind of restrictions or modifications, really. So I just saw a lot of things in the public school system where I could not be free to speak about what I believe. I have to tell you, children ask me all the time, so what do you believe about God? Children want to know spirituality. They want to know these things. And I was asked these questions, and I even was answering with a little bit of hesitation because I didn't know if I would get a phone call from the principal and telling me I can't do that, right? Thankfully, I never had that experience. But at the same time, I know that it is something that does happen to teachers in the public school system.
What do you guys think is the issue in schools right now in terms of what's being taught?
Well, I mean, the general thoughts I hear from people is that the schools are not preparing children for the world that we're in, that the system is really moving behind of what the way our world has changed. But really, a lot of parents are also saying that some gender ideology that's being taught there, it's ending up bringing more confusion and so forth. I personally, see, my background is in biology before I became a teacher. And when I'm starting to see the gender ideology that's being taught right now, my thoughts are, and a lot of parents' thoughts are, we're denying basic biology and science at this point, and a lot of parents are saying it's no longer teaching facts and teaching objective subjects, it's now teaching ideology. So that's one of the things we hear. Children were also being treated differently if they were not vaccinated. So bullying actually now starts because of the ideology that's being taught, and if some families choose not to follow that. And parents don't want that anymore for their children. There's some heartbreaking stories of what's happened to children. Other things you've heard, you've spoken to parents as well?
Mm-hmm. Well, again, it's an agenda, and the globalists who are driving this agenda have told us what their intentions are. I mean, you could take it all the way up to, what is the depopulation agenda, Georgia Guidestones. I mean, you can get pretty conspiratorial with all of that. But what we're seeing on the ground level is that the bottom line is it's not working. We don't have kids thriving anymore. I mean, the schools would open, the schools would close. You didn't know what was happening on a week-to-week basis. You would go in, and there's a constant agenda of fear. And this past Saturday, I did a message on the arts, entertainment, and news industry. And I talked about the fact that the news industry is geared very much toward driving fear so that it puts us in a position where we're going to make choices that we would normally make. And so if you're constantly telling children in school that they're in the wrong body, really that what you are isn't really what you are, kids have no ability to make decisions about that. I mean, my goodness, even teenagers don't have the capacity to really make those kinds of decisions. And yet we want to indoctrinate grade 1 kids about things like masturbation and stuff like that. It's sickening, to be honest with you. And so when the new sex ed curriculum came in 2015 under Kathleen Wynne's government, Milena and I made the conscious choice. We said, we're pulling our boy out. I am not going to spend all my time trying to undo what the school system is trying to put into him, because we're going to end up with a hot mess, and we're seeing that. So what we want to do is we want to we want to bring education back to what it was originally supposed to be. We want to teach kids again about the skills that they need, and it's not just in the academic field either. It's about emotional control and understanding. How do I do conflict resolution? All these things that maybe at one time was taught. Maybe some of these things never really were taught in the school system. But we want to equip children to be as successful as they can possibly be in life and give them all the opportunities without all this other garbage. You know what, listen, if that's your values, fine. You teach that at home. Let's keep that out of the schools.
Something that I was just saying to Daryl, how we're talking about how we are having children now to choose what pronoun to use for themselves. I said, I just want to teach children to know what pronouns are. I want them to know what grammar is. I want them to know how to express themselves.
Why are you trying to choose a pronoun when you don't know what a pronoun is?
Yes. And now the children are not certain about who they are, what they are to think, what the rules are, what to follow.
And you get punished for, misgendering somebody or mispronouncing them. I mean, it's this culture of fear, and that we're going to punish you if you don't do what we want. And this is, I'm sorry to say, but this is Justin Trudeau's entire government philosophy. He's been doing this for 7 years. It's divide and conquer, and anything that is right is going to be punished, and it's going to be vilified so that we don't speak out, and that he can get done whatever his political masters want him to do.
School Pods Canada wants to make pods customizable for those with different needs.
There are many different models out there, and I think that's the way it should be. We shouldn't have a one-size-fits-all. What School Pods Canada is trying to do is meet the needs of the parents who are not happy with what their kids are being taught in the public school or even private school system, because many of them still had to go by the government orders when all the lockdowns happened and everything else. So we want to help those parents who don't want their kids to be educated by the system, but at the same time don't feel qualified to do it themselves. We want to encourage, there's learning pods, there's the whole homeschooling, there's unschooling. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different models out there. Our objective, to be honest with you, is to give parents a say in their children's education. And what we're seeing, that what's happened with public school, is that there's a lot of things being taught that don't represent the parents' values. And so what we want to do is we want to give parents that it's your job to teach kids about these things. We want to give them the skills that they need to be successful in life. And so that's why we want to kind of blend the whole idea of having a homeschool model, but having a professional teacher come in so that they can take care of. Because we even had a call just the other day of this woman who has homeschooled her son, but he's going into grade 8 now, and she's maxed out. It's like, I am no longer qualified to be able to teach my kid what he needs, because then you got to start specializing. And if it was up to me to teach my son science, we'd be in big trouble.
We tried a science experiment yesterday. But we are hoping that pods will become the norm. It will become something popular. We are not here to take away. I'm already talking to a lot of teachers who are still in the public school system, and they are noticing there's decline in attendance because the children are either being pulled out or they're just struggling with going to school on a regular basis. So we believe this is a movement that is gaining popularity, but we are finding that a lot of people want a pod, but they have no idea what it looks like, they want it to be. So we're here to really guide people, and I know there are several people who are taking on that role, and I think that's wonderful. And we would like pods to be the alternative for people to know about this, because a lot of people feel stuck, and we really want them to feel like they have a choice, not to feel like they have to do something against their will.
If anyone would like to explore the pod option, you can start by visiting schoolpodscanada.com, and you'll be in contact with either Milena or Daryl for further information. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Please check out our website at rebelnewsstore.com and buy 2 shirts and get the 3rd free with code SUMMER.